This anime perfectly shows you how to get a girlfriend. This show follows a weeaboo shut-in called Natsuki Subaru who was transported to another world randomly and thinks he's Jesus Kun reincarnate, only to find out pretty quickly that this isn't Sword Art Online. He's a literal virgin gamer who has to actually fend for himself in real life. He can't hide behind his computer screen with bad posture hunched over his desk anymore. Yeah, I mean you. Imagine having bad posture, come on. If you just fix your posture right now, then just know that you're a little bitch and you're exactly the type of person who needs to watch this video. ReZero shows you step-by-step how to stop being a degenerate loser and become a strong masculine man that you can actually be proud of. Natsuki Subaru at the beginning of the show was a complete loser. He was a dweeb shut-in with an obsessive figurine collection and probably hadn't touched grass in a few days. I think out of all the people who could have been transported to this world, Subaru was definitely the worst pick. This is where he started out, pretty much bottom of the barrel scum. I'm sure every time that he would come out of his room for breakfast after already beating his meat to hentai, he would feel like a dirty gremlin around his family. He probably couldn't even look them in the eye because he knew how much of a degenerate he was, and to be around normal people immediately after doing that probably made him realize just how disgusting his life was. Despite all of this, he was able to transform into a hero that even powerful people admired through the process called the emotional cycle of change. There are 5 stages that Subaru went through to finally stop being a degenerate loser and become the masculine hero that he always wanted to be, and by analyzing his path, we can find out the exact process that we need to follow to find success in our own lives. Stage 1. Subaru finds himself in a bustling fantasy city out of nowhere. Spirit and optimism fill his heart as his gamer dreams start to come true. He's read hundreds of generic isekai light novels, and finally it's his turn to become the protagonist. He's not even shocked by it. He completely accepts it, probably because he's dumb, and looks at the world in awe. He's excited for what the world has in store for him. Because why else would he get summoned here if he didn't have a higher calling above everyone else? He's walking down the street, basking in the warm sunlight, when he hears a shriek. A woman fell into the middle of the busy street and was about to get run over by a carriage. Everyone looks on in shock and worry, but Subaru is calm. It's his time. He gathers his energy and focuses it into his hand. With a forceful push of his palm, he expels out his magic to save the woman, and suddenly, a knight dashes into the street and saves the woman instead. Everyone is clapping for the knight and his act of heroism and bravery, which saved the innocent woman, but Subaru is frozen. I guess he just wasn't ready to use magic right then. But no. He just needs to prepare himself a little bit. Then he'll unlock his potential. Yeah. No. That's what it is. That's what it is. This brand new world that Subaru finds himself in doesn't feel real to him. It's all still just a game. Another isekai light novel. He carries these naive, optimistic assumptions about the world and himself. He doesn't let setbacks get him down because he fully believes that he's going to get everything that he wants in this life simply because he's special. He glosses over all of his issues and is completely tunnel visioned into the idea of beating up the bad guy, saving the girl, and living happily ever after. Subaru is in the first stage of the emotional cycle of change. Uninformed optimism. Whenever we start something new, we tend to have an idealized perspective on it. When we decide to start going to the gym, we're super motivated by the idea of getting jacked and having girls talk to us. When we start learning to play guitar or piano, we constantly think about being really good and having people compliment us when we play difficult pieces. This isn't bad. If we didn't care about the end result, there would be no reason for us to start anything new. Change is difficult, and thinking about how great our lives will be once we accomplish a goal is the fuel we need to take the action to change. We see Subaru get through the loot house arc and the mansion arc somewhat easily because of this motivation. He wants to be seen as a hero so that he can make Amelia his girlfriend and have a shit ton of status in this world. So he has to start acting like a hero. When people start getting murdered left and right, it's up to Subaru to put his detective hat on and figure out how he can save everyone. This is such a drastic change in behavior because literally just a couple of days ago, he was sleeping in till 11 a.m., spending all day in his room playing video games and reading manga with a couple masturbation breaks in between. Well, Subaru, there's no hentai in this world, and you have a hot anime waifu to save. You cannot be lazy. It's time to start acting like a hero and get some bitches. And surprisingly, he actually does find some success. Well, He found success, but that's not to say he didn't get really lucky. Dude was fully about to post up to this giant-ass dog with no plan other than having a broken sword and inking himself like a fucking squid. He landed one good critical hit, and that was all he had. He was a solid 2 seconds away from having to reset and do it all again if it weren't for Roswaal saving his ass. Clearly, Subaru still has a long way to go if he wants to be the hero that he aspires to be without having to rely on good timing and strong allies. As time goes on, though, reality starts to seep in. Stage 2. The Capital Arc, or Arc 3, proves to be Subaru's greatest challenge yet. Not only did he make an ass of himself in front of all of the nation's most powerful leaders and warriors, he literally yelled at and pushed away the girl he has a crush on. Now that's what I call fucking stupid. Good one, buddy. If he wants to protect the witches cult from attacking Roswaal's mansion and killing Amelia along with all of the villagers, he can't just bullshit his way through this time. This is a problem that requires a little bit more than basic-ass common sense, so Subaru is forced to push himself. This means asking all of the royal selection candidates for help and getting rejected by all of them. This means seeing all of the people you care about get murdered in multiple different gruesome ways. This means getting your eyeball licked by a questionable green old man with a bowl cut. Like, there's so many things that he has to go through to solve this problem, and it just feels like everything that he tries leads to failure. He is realizing that this world is not some perfect fantasy. If he wants to save everyone, it is going to be incredibly fucking difficult. He encounters the hard truths of his reality, which shatter his uninformed optimism. He is now in stage 2 of his journey, informed pessimism. This is the part of the process in which you suck, and you actually realize how much you suck. You don't fully understand how difficult it is to change in the beginning, and this realization only comes after you've made some good progress. This is why you see so many people reach intermediate levels of skill or success and just plateau and then never become extraordinary. You will find yourself in this position around 2 months to a year after you begin a new journey, depending on what it is. If you want to start an online business, you might lose motivation for it after only a month, whereas if you get a girlfriend, you might be head over heels in love for a year and a half or 2 years. Eventually, though, all things will lose their allure and you will be made painfully aware of the negatives. The business you were once super passionate about now bores you to death, sending 50 cold messages on Instagram a day, and the woman that once made you super happy now pisses you off with how messy she is. Almost everything in life goes through this cycle. Even with all these setbacks, Subaru keeps pushing through. He needs to save Amelia, right? He can't just give up. He's the fucking protagonist. It would be so lame if he just quit when it got difficult. But this isn't a generic isekai, and Subaru isn't a copy-pasted, overpowered protagonist. He is still, at his core, a lazy, weeaboo high schooler. And I'm afraid there's no such thing as a lazy high schooler that never gives up. Stage 3. Subaru gives up. He saw the journey was getting difficult, he kept pushing, and nothing he tried worked. He reaches a breaking point in episode 18, and this episode is arguably this is the best episode of ReZero, and if you don't cry watching this episode, then you're not a fucking man, alright? Subaru has tried so many options and just keeps on getting met with gruesome death after gruesome death. He is at the stage of his journey towards becoming a hero where most people would just quit. He is at stage 3, crisis of meaning. Subaru doesn't know if this goal is even worth pursuing anymore. Is it just too difficult? Is he just not capable of being a hero? Subaru has gotten inside of his head and starts to doubt his goals and doubt himself too. He didn't have a lack of motivation. In fact, he had plenty of motivation. He could keep on trying as many times as he needed with Return by Death, so he essentially had everything to win and nothing to lose. He wasn't about to give up because he wasn't motivated then. No. He gave up because he lost faith that it was even possible to win. Subaru started his journey as a degenerate loser and was trying to become a hero. The way he went about becoming that hero was by changing his actions. His mental model was that if he changed his actions to be that of a hero, he would eventually feel like a hero and believe he was one. From this identity, he would get the results of a hero. That can be summarized as behavior leads to belief, leads to benefit. This is the mental model that the vast majority of people have, and it's one of the biggest reasons why most people will never achieve the success that they want. For example, let's take someone who joins the gym after New Year's to lose weight. They start off fat and want to be in shape, so they begin their journey by changing their behavior and start exercising. They believe that if they go to the gym enough, then they will feel good about their weight and enjoy going to the gym. And then once they feel good about their weight, they'll stay consistent and become fit. This way of thinking is accepted by society as good and normal, but so few people actually stick to the gym for more than a month, and any weight that they do lose, they gain back. Clearly, something is wrong with how we think about success. We are not doing anything wrong. We are thinking wrong. This is the reason why you will not find success and stay a loser forever. Let's take a look at the previous mental model. How is Subaru going to consistently act like a hero if internally he still views himself as a lazy gamer? Lazy gamers don't work hard. Degenerates don't sacrifice themselves for other people. Subaru has become brutally aware of his flaws along this journey without any of the positives in sight. That's when Rem suddenly starts telling Subaru about everything that she loves about him. There are positives. Despite the fact that he isn't who he wants to be, he still has achieved some progress, and that is what saved Rem. She understands that he is capable of so much in this world, and it would be a waste of potential for him to give up even if it would be a comfortable life. She gives him light, and makes him believe that even if he is all these bad things he says about himself, he is also so many good things. She loves him not in spite of his bad sides, but because of his bad sides. She accepts him completely for who he is. Even with all the things he hates about himself, he can still be a hero and make progress. And he has. Through their conversation in episode 18, Rem helps Subaru regain faith that this problem is in fact possible to overcome. Better yet, Subaru comes out of this conversation with a new mental model. By believing that he can solve this problem, he changes his identity. No longer is he operating with behavior first. No, he is operating with belief first. It seems like such a small change, but by adopting the identity of a hero, he is naturally going to act like one. He is using the mental model of belief leads to behavior, leads to benefit. Losers will act like losers, and heroes will act like heroes. If Subaru acts like a hero, he will get the results of one. And the more success he finds as a hero, the further reinforced the identity will become. This then leads to more actions, which leads to more results, which further cements the identity, and the cycle continues. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy that all starts with belief. Quick side tangent, Subaru is a fucking dumbass for rejecting Rem. Rem displays all the traits that you want in your perfect wife. She gives Subaru unconditional love. She doesn't attack or yell at him. She trusts him completely. She is committed to him at his worst so that she can help him become his best, and she accepts all sides of him, even his bad sides. Subaru, you are a fucking dumbass for rejecting Rem for Amelia. Rem is best girl. Nobody can tell me anything different. Rem... That aside, this stage of the emotional cycle of change is the one that is the most dangerous. If you don't successfully overcome this stage, then what will happen is you'll give up on your current goal and start again on a new goal at the beginning of the cycle. And you'll go through the cycle and reach the point where it gets difficult and give up and try something else this time. And then again. And again. And again. That's truly where the cyclical aspect of this process comes from. You will be permanently stuck chasing the next shiny object if you cannot learn to change your identity. So, how do you change your identity then? Well, that's a topic for another day, but the Cliff Notes version is pretty simple to understand. What happens when you imagine a girl naked? What happens when you think about having sex with a hot woman? Your dick gets hard. Why? It's because your mind believes she's real. Your body is getting ready to have sex with her and to pass on your genes and create offspring. Your brain cannot distinguish between reality and imagination, and we can use this fact to our advantage. If we forcefully implant words into our mind enough times, we will eventually think it unconsciously, and then our mind will believe it to be true. That's a very simple explanation of how to realistically change your identity, but Subaru was able to do it because he's just fucking dumb and believes whatever he wants to believe. All it took was for Best Girl to talk some sense into him, and now he's ready to take on the witches cult. Stage 4. With belief reignited in his heart, Subaru tackles his challenges with vigor. He is no longer some shut-in who just sits in bed all day who's stupid. He is now a hero. Who's still stupid, but he's actually putting an effort and creativity into his solutions. He's not just begging for people to help him, he's negotiating, creating plans, and leading people. He starts to act like a hero because he now believes that he is a hero. A hero doesn't give up, so he won't either. It's still difficult. The situation has always been really shitty, but he is now fully confident that he will be successful. He has reached stage 4, informed optimism. This is the part of the journey that people tend to gloss over. Once you've realized the shit and decided to keep working through it, you are going to spend months or even years working diligently before you find success. ReZero makes it look action-packed and fun, but what this looks like in reality is spending 8 to 10 hours a day in complete focus and isolation on the one thing that matters most to you. That means doing the boring, tedious work that nobody wants to do. The path to success isn't fun and exciting. It's work. Do not forget that. This is why having your identity set from the beginning is so important. The only way that we can consistently put in the hours required for success is to already believe you are the person you want to become. Subaru had to deal with so many fucking issues during this time, and the anime kind of glosses over all of his meticulous planning and setup, which I kind of don't like. We see the final product of Subaru's work, and they tell us what he did to get there, but I would have really loved to see Subaru brainstorming a plan with Rem and going around to convince everyone before he talked to Krush. He wouldn't have been able to get through the mundane setup of solving complex problems if he didn't view himself as a hero that uses discipline and hard work to save the people he cares about. This stage is not fun, but if you can get through the grind, you will be rewarded. Stage 5. Problem after problem on top of unexpected complications, Natsuki Subaru surmounted them all and grew immensely by the end of it. He contemplated giving up on even trying because he felt cornered, but he persevered through it all and finally achieved the success that had eluded him for so long. He had reached the final stage in the emotional cycle of change. Success. Subaru wasn't pushing himself to his limits because it would be cool. He didn't do it because it would give him pleasure. There was nothing pleasurable about the suffering he went through. No. Subaru committed himself to becoming a hero because of love. He wanted to protect the people he cared about, and he couldn't imagine living in a world in which Amelia was not smiling. This meant he had to overcome his limiting beliefs and do things he didn't want to do. He had to make amends with Julius. He had to learn to negotiate with people in power. He had to be willing to sacrifice all of his progress to do things right. It wasn't easy in the slightest, but it was what was necessary to fulfill his desire. And rightfully deserved, Amelia was overjoyed when Subaru told her about his feelings and saved her. This was something that he could have only ever dreamed of accomplishing when he was still just a degenerate gamer in high school. Truly, Subaru transformed into the hero he desired to be through the emotional cycle of change. And so can you.